Part 1. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 1. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, The Taste of Sorry. Brief Introduction. Welcome users to use the Love Simulator. You are free to choose those who have a basic connection with your reality and whose appearance value is 7 or above. This score is simulated for women on a 10-point scale. The entire simulation is free, players are invited to explore on their own. After the simulation is completed, the system will reward the simulation result evaluation. Current number of simulations, 4. The number of simulations is not fixed and can be restored with special rewards and time. Wait a minute, why are the simulated subjects all difficult two-dimensional heroines? The introduction is weak and the name is rubbish. Please move to the main text and add it to your favorites. Thank you. Chapter 1. What kind of succubus? Do you want to bind the dating simulator? Y/N. Nang Xiang, who was writing furiously on the blackboard, stopped what he was doing and frowned. He is very good looking, with a delicate facial profile and fine black hair that is slightly curled at the roots. Underneath that is a pair of big and lively eyes. He looks like the hero of a morning drama. His calm and indifferent temperament makes him less feminine than the male idols on TV. The body is well proportioned and the posture is upright. This handsome appearance is definitely considered outstanding among high school students. Even in class, he enjoys curious and slightly affectionate looks from all directions. Well, there are women and men among them. But overall, it's not a big problem. Nang Xiangxi was used to these gazes. He just raised his hand and nonchalantly moved the system panel that blocked his view of writing on the blackboard to the other side. Then he lowered his head and continued to copy the writing on the blackboard. System, time traveler. It seems that somewhere, on some websites, there is some kind of consensus. If the system had arrived a year ago, perhaps I would have been ecstatic when I traveled from China to Tokyo's Nango. But now, after finishing copying the writing on the blackboard in neat handwriting, Nang Xiangxi groaned and turned his gaze to the system frame suspended in mid-air. To be honest, he has no fluctuations in his heart after traveling for a year. It took Nang Xiang 1 year to adapt to life in Japan, and relying on his acquired self-adjustment ability, he moved from Japan to Tobula with excellent deviations under the astonished eyes of his parents, 2 older sisters, and even his former junior high school teachers and classmates. The shitty country entered Oka High School in Bunkyoku, Tokyo. And under the incredible gazes of all Oka High School students at the same time, this country boy who had just entered the prestigious Oka High School directly took the first place in the school year. In the eyes of others, he himself seems to be a genius boy with the blessing of the system. It may also be a sequelae caused by time travel. After merging the soul of the original owner, he learns everything very quickly, and the speed of getting started is also terrifying. How can 2 people do the same thing as 1 person and not be fast? Back to topic. Dating simulation system, to bind or not to bind. To be honest, Nang Xiangxi, who has been born in 2 generations, is not very interested in the so-called sweet love in high school. So even if he traveled to this world and occasionally saw animated characters from certain dramas in his previous life, such as a girl with the surname of Shinomiya, or a girl with the surname of Yuki Nashida, he basically didn't come forward the meaning of friendship. Look at the shadow and stop at the shadow. Nang Xiangxi felt that there was nothing wrong with this concept. After all, among the girls living in animation, which one is not a problematic girl? It's already so difficult to do in animation. In reality, when Nang Xiang was there, he couldn't even imagine how difficult it was for them to deal with it. On the contrary, some animated male protagonists are well behaved and obedient, and are actually better candidates than girls. Well, the topic seems to have gone a little sideways. All in all, stable study, stable life, stable admission to a prestigious university, smooth sailing into the society and then go out to do business, find a virtuous and obedient wife who is willing to let him use all the 18 gestures. For Nang Xiangxi, for now, this is enough. It can be called a smooth sailing and even life. And with his super learning ability and ability to get started, this kind of life goal is not difficult to achieve. Sure enough, it's better not to bind it. You can live a good life without the system. Looking at the system frame suspended in mid-air, Nang Xiang made a decision. He stretched out his finger, just about to click on the no option. There was already a notification sound in my ears. After detecting that the host has not made a selection for too long, the system will automatically bind it. Bundling successful. Nang Xiangxi. It doesn't matter. Nang Xiangxi has always been a very open-minded man. Anyway, being bound to a system doesn't do much harm to him personally. So, everything is tied up. Let's see the specific situation. It was like the thought he had when responding to Nang Xiang. In sight, the black characters of the system began to change, and lines of instructions for use emerged on the bottom. Welcome to use the love simulator. You can freely choose women who have a basic connection with your reality and whose appearance value is 7 or above. This score is based on a 10-point scale, for simulation. The entire simulation is free, players are invited to explore on their own. After the simulation is completed, the system will reward the simulation result evaluation. Current number of simulations, 4. The number of simulations is not fixed and can be restored over time. Appearance value. Looking at the explanation on the system, Nang Xiangxi opened his own panel thoughtfully. Love simulator. Bind user, Nang Xiangxi. Appearance, 9, sports, 6, academic ability, 8, specialty, learning LV4. Simulator evaluation. A handsome young man with a promising future is a rare and sought-after commodity among women of all ages, including some men with extraordinary sexual interests. It seems that appearance should refer to one's own appearance. According to the appearance value of 10 points, his appearance value is 9 points. Well. What succubus? Nang Xiangxi muttered. An academic ability 8? My academic ability is only 8 on a 10-point scale. Is this a bit low? After all, it's just a system, it can only stay on the outside and doesn't understand my inner excellence. Nang Xiangxi was a little dissatisfied, but he continued to look down. The system required that the appearance value should reach 7 points, which was so high, but he had hardly made friends with women when he traveled through time. Logically speaking, apart from his 2 sisters, there shouldn't be anyone who can simulate love. Currently available simulations: Nango Shiho, Nango Yoho, Go to Ichisato. When he saw an unexpected name in the simulation list, Nang Xiangxi's fingers paused. Nango Shiho and Nango Yubo were the eldest and second sisters in his world, and he still remembered them clearly. But this latter one. Ichisato Goto. Nang Xiangxi thought of a drama called Lonely Rock that he had watched before. Because it is a daily music story drama between girls and girls, Nang Xiang cannot remember the specific details of the story. He only remembered that Goto Kazuri should be one of the heroines. But the problem is, I have tried my best to avoid contact with certain female characters in animation. How does the other party get in touch with you? To be honest, he didn't even have any impression of Goto Kazuri. Nang Xiangxi didn't understand. But thinking about it on the other hand, it is understandable for the heroine in the animation. After all, there are very few who can become animated heroines who are not beautiful girls. He clicked on Goto Ichiri's option. Choice: Ichisato Goto. Status: slightly admired. A little admiration. Looking at this line of words, Nang Xiangxi was confused. He didn't remember anything he had done to deserve the admiration of Goto Kazuri. As for him admiring the other person? This is even more impossible. Do you understand the value of appearance worth 9? And to put it bluntly, He has never even seen Goto Ichiri's face, so how can he say that he admires him? Start simulation? Nang Xiangxi, who had vaguely become a Leza person, raised his hand because his own joy was also Leza. Yes. Chapter 2. You are the same as always, please add it to your collection. Number of simulations remaining, 3. Simulated object, Kazuri Goto. On the system, the text begins to change. You have been studying hard and seriously since you traveled back a year. Study steadily, have a smooth life smoothly, and then find a wife who can satisfy you in all kinds of ways. This is your lifelong ideal. In order to realize this ideal, although you have received many love letters and invitations from girls, you still just want to study hard. To you, the youthful love of a high school student doesn't seem to have the slightest appeal. Why does this system make it seem like I'm just learning? And can you not say it so bluntly about being a wife who is satisfied with the 18 postures? My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Ziwei. Chapter 2. Nang Xiangxi was not very able to accept the system slandering such a good young man like himself. Lunch break, after copying the writing on the blackboard, and after eating, you sorted out your current thoughts and decided. 1. As always, 2. Spend your youth and go to the gymnasium, 3. Chat with the female classmates who come over to chat, 4. Simulate in person. Simulate it yourself. Nang Xiangxi clicked on the fourth option strangely, and an explanation popped up below. Project consciousness into the simulated world, 100% original experience, 100% restoration, super high degree of freedom to explore. It only takes 4 simulation opportunities to experience it. Nang Xiangxi took a look at the 3 simulation opportunities he had left, and regretfully gave up the so-called 100% original experience option. His eyes returned to the remaining 3 options. The second option is to spend your youth and go to the gym. To be honest, if the simulation is applied to reality, Nang Xiangxi actually had no interest in gymnasium exercise, even though his sports performance was not bad. The third option is to chat with other girls. It's a love simulator in itself. The heroine Goto Ichiri hasn't even appeared yet, but she's already chatting passionately with other girls. This is somewhat inappropriate. Then the remaining options are the same as always. I have been in this world for a year, in order to maintain my study progress in the afternoon. He often sets aside part of his lunch break to preview. Instead of choosing the latter 2 options, it is safer to choose the first one and keep your usual pace. Being able to take care of studies and maintain energy. Nang Xiang thought about it and reached out to mark down the options. Faced with the temptations around you and the indulgence of your peers, you decided to prepare for the afternoon study. For you, the youthful love of high school students is meaningless at all. Your life has not changed at all, even if you have gained love simulator. 2. Love, there is no way to change your usual life rhythm with a strong personality. This line of description made Nang Xiang feel something was wrong. You spent the first day as usual. You spent the next day as usual. You spent the third day as usual. Your learning ability and self-discipline have improved. Nang Xiangxi. In the final exam, you defended your number 1 position in the academic year with an absolute and unshakable advantage. Everyone looked at you with admiration. You spent a month as usual. You spent 2 years as usual. Your life has not changed at all. What are you doing? Nang Xiangxi glanced at the name of Love Simulator, and after making sure that he had not opened the wrong simulator, he continued reading. With your highly self-disciplined character, you were admitted to the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Tokyo by doing whatever you wanted. During a class reunion, you met a woman who could satisfy you in every possible way. At her request, you learned the bass instrument. Relying on your outstanding appearance and outstanding musical instrument talent, you easily pursued the other person, and relying on the good family conditions and your own resources at the University of Tokyo Medical School, after graduation, you successfully took over as the department director of the target hospital, occasionally practicing bass with your wife, you can be considered happy, and get the smooth life you dream of. System evaluation, 0 points. Evaluation, you have never met her, so insisting on your own pace of life is not a bad thing. Although you got the life you wanted, looking back, you still have some regrets about missing out in your life. System settlement, your self-discipline has improved. Seeing this unexpected result, Nan Xiangxi couldn't help but open his mouth. Even though he was eating his wife's hand, the ending seemed to be surprisingly good. But what about love? Didn't I talk about a love simulator? Just given an option? Besides, who did I marry in the end? What about Ichiri Goto? Doesn't this guy have a little admiration for me? Don't you even dare to talk to me in the simulated world? As long as you take the initiative to chat with me, maybe you can have a vigorous love journey with the most beautiful boy in Tokyo. There is definitely something wrong with this woman. Do you know the value of appearance worth 9? Nan Xiangxi knocked on the table and fell into thinking. Maybe I went astray from the beginning. Thinking about it carefully, he didn't know Goto Kazuri at all in the simulation world. If he chose to preview from the beginning, it would naturally be impossible to extend the subsequent options with the other party. Thinking about it this way, the previous option was indeed a bit hasty. As for learning ability, Nan Xiangxi opened his own panel. In the specialty column, learning ability is still LV4, followed by self-discipline LV1. It seems that my own talent is too high, and it is a bit troublesome to improve it. Just as Nang Xiang was sitting in the classroom chair, he was thinking about whether to start the simulation again. A voice that took the initiative to chat came to my ears. Nang Xiang-san, if you don't mind, would you like to chat with us for a while to pass the time? Hearing these words, Nang Xiangxi glanced in surprise at the girl in the same class in front of him who had a nervous and red face and took the initiative to talk to her. With a learning ability of LV4, he still remembered that the simulator also had an option to chat with girls in the same class who took the initiative to chat. This thing really happened in reality. Is it possible that the simulator can simulate the future to a certain extent? Nang Xiangxi just chose to prepare for homework. In this case, why not change your thinking? Can. Nan Xiangxi nodded and agreed to the other party's invitation. The other party, who didn't have much hope at first, obviously didn't expect that Nang Xiangxi, who always only focused on studying and was secretly called an ornamental handsome boy, would agree to his request so simply and neatly. She looked delighted and excitedly called over the girls in her small group. Several little girls chatted a lot while walking around Nang Xiang. As a little girl, the only things they can discuss are school gossip, what makeup they use these days, what shampoo is better to use in the shower, and so on. To be honest, Nang Xiang was not very interested in these gossip topics. But just when they mentioned a certain topic, Nang Xiang became energetic. Speaking of which, Mataka, have you noticed? The one in the first grade, is called Goto Kazuri, right? Goto Ichiri, Nang Xiangxi, who had been silent all this time, took the initiative to speak. Nang Xiang-san, don't you know? It was a rare occasion when I saw Nang Xiang, and this handsome and ornamental man took the initiative to speak. The girls were all in high spirits, and did not care at all about the Personal Information Privacy Protection Act. They worked hard to reveal the information they knew about Goto Ichiri through artistic processing. She is an ugly girl with a hunchback and a flat chest. She wears a weird combination of pink sportswear and skirts in class. She carries a guitar on her back and has no idea what she does. She also feels very gloomy, inaccessible, and uncomfortable. Atmosphere. Ugly girl. Hunchback. Flat chest. Do you also like to wear pink outdoor sportswear with a skirt? Nang Xiang frowned. Although I knew that these girls probably talked about Goto Ichiri in such an exaggerated way to arouse his interest. Isn't this post-art processing too much? What kind of weirdo would dress like this to death? After sending the girls away, Nangxiang silently summarized the information he had just obtained about Goto Ichiri in his mind. Class 3, first grade. Is she my schoolgirl? It seems that simulators can indeed simulate future events to a certain extent. I chose to preview my homework before, and I have been studying seriously since then. But this time, in reality, he was communicating with the girls who gathered around him, and at the same time, he got information from Goto Kazuri. So now, in the simulator, will the content between him and Goto Ichiri change? Nangxiang looked at the simulator in the sky. Simulation or not? Yes. Chapter 3. Find other women to have fun with. Start the simulation again. System frame. Characters began to change and reorganize. This time, the content is different. During lunch break, after chatting with girls, you wanted to continue studying, but the remaining time was not enough for previewing. You were a little helpless, but had to give up the option of previewing. It is indeed different from before. It seems that the actions taken in reality will also affect the subsequent development of the simulator. And why am I thinking so much about studying? Although he is indeed very self-disciplined. After Nangxiang she sighed, as expected of me, he continued to row. But through this chat with the girls in the same class, you confirmed that there is a woman named Ichiri Goto in class 3 of the first grade of the school. She is gloomy, silent, has no communication with others, and is secretly concerned about her appearance as a 9, you have feelings of admiration. You are very confident in the love simulator and firmly believe that the other person is definitely not a weirdo who likes to wear long-sleeved pink sportswear and skirts outdoors in class. She must be a beauty worthy of your 9 appearance value. Does appearance value 9 appear too often? Do I care so much about my face? Nangxiang she touched his face. The afternoon class is over for you who have a strong learning ability. The contents of Oka High School textbooks are not obscure and difficult to understand. Even if you sleep and play with your mobile phone, it is not difficult for you to get full marks. Thinking of the topic of Goto Kazuri chatting with girls during lunch break, you decided. 1. Hit the ball straight and go to class 3 of year 3 to look for it. 2. Get to know the information about Goto Kazuri first and try to go to the teacher's office to retrieve her personal information. 3. Ignore Goto Kazuri and go out for a walk to find someone else. Let's play with women. 4. Simulate in person. Looking at the options, Nangxiang she quickly came up with the answer. The third option is to find another woman to play with. Although I am a little interested, I don't even think about it. It is the death option. As for the second item, Nangxiang she really wanted to do it. After all, knowing a person's information is the prerequisite for love to begin. But considering that it had violated other people's privacy, Nangxiang had no choice but to give up. Then the option comes to the first item. Although it is indeed a bit too straight, it is also in line with my own style. The choice was made in Nangxiang. After the afternoon class, you, who has extraordinary mobility and an appearance value of 9, decided to go to class 3 of year 3 to find Ichiri Goto. You attracted a lot of people's attention along the way. Why did Nangxiang Sr., who ranked first in the second grade and was very popular in the hearts of many lower grade girls, come to the first grade? The excessive attention made you a little annoyed. You came here just to find Goto Kazuri, the woman who secretly admired you. Fortunately, the journey to class 3 of the first grade is very short. As usual, you ignored the gazes from around you and arrived at class 3 of the first grade. A second-year senior who is a well-known figure in the school actually took the initiative to come to class 3 of the first grade class, which attracted a lot of attention. After asking in a low voice and carefully, you finally found Goto Kazuri, but what was different from what you imagined was that he was not sitting in the back row by the window like many anime protagonists, but looked like a completely non-existent person. I feel like a passerby, sitting in the first row from the middle of the class. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 3. Although it is only vaguely, you seem to feel that the other person's eyes are peeking at you curiously through the two long bangs. Looking at this line of text, relevant memories came to Nang Xiangxi's mind. Among class 3 of the first year who were looking at all kinds of curious eyes, Nang Xiangxi saw a girl sitting on the seat in the last row with her head lowered and looking a little embarrassed. She was wrapped in pink outdoor sportswear, pink sweatpants, and a black skirt. Not only did she not have the slightest interest in high school girls, she even looked a little weird. The sportswear wrapped her body, and no extra skin was exposed. Some of the two long bangs were like hanging curtains. The window to her heart blocked out the whole world. Plus, she was a little hunched, which also made her look uncomfortable. Teng Ili looked particularly gloomy and silent. Because the other party lowered her head, Nan Xiangxi couldn't see her face clearly. She could only see from the way the other party occasionally raised her head to peek, lowered her head and rubbed her hands nervously, that she was very white, and had the look of someone who didn't come into contact with her often. The whiteness of sunlight. But isn't this woman's clothes like go to Ichiri too bad? Breaking away from the memory given by the system, Nan Xiangxi couldn't help but mutter. He originally thought it was a distorted and processed impression by the girls in his class. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be true. Is there really a female high school student in this world wearing outdoor sweatpants and a black pleated skirt? What weird species? That's all. Since she secretly admires her own woman. The appearance value is also above 7. Even if it's a bit strange, Nang Xiangxi can't accept it. He continued to look down. You don't care about the other person's weird clothes, on the contrary, you are a little curious about why the other person dresses like this, because compared to the fashionable female high school students in Japan, the other person's existence is as rare as a wild viper. Seemingly aware of your gaze, Goto Ichiri, who was sitting in the chair, felt a little embarrassed. She stood up, put the guitar on her back, and seemed ready to run away. Facing her who is about to leave, you decide. 1. Play the long game to catch the big fish and let her go. 2. Punch hard, shout Ichiri Goto, I love you, hug her from behind and keep her. 3. She seems to like guitar very much, maybe she can start by asking for guidance on guitar? 4. Personal simulation. That's not true, is it? Ignoring the options, Nang Xiang rubbed his forehead. Just because he glanced at her, he was so scared that he wanted to leave immediately. No wonder this woman didn't talk to herself, who had an appearance value of 9, for 3 whole years during the simulation. He can't even catch his eye, and he still expects this woman to take the initiative to talk to him. Want to eat shit? Nan Xiangxi shook his head and began to examine the 3 options. First of all, it is basically impossible to catch big fish with a long line. According to Goto Kazuri's character of being so fearful of strangers, if he lets this woman go this time, the plot will most likely become like Ichibuki, where the two of them become parallel lines and he becomes a learning monster. Second option. To be honest, if the person in the simulation was not himself, a fun-loving person like him would really want to choose it and see what the follow-up development would be like. The most important thing is that there are too few simulation opportunities and cannot be wasted on it. Then the answer comes out. Guitar. It sounds like I have a lot of connection with musical instruments. When Zhou was pursuing the wife whose name he didn't even know, it seemed that he deliberately learned the bass before winning her over. Nang Xiang chose the third option. A high-end hunter will never give up the opportunity to take the initiative. Since the opponent wants to escape like a rabbit, you must lead her into your own sweet trap like a hunter. Looking at the guitar on her back, your flexible brain immediately thought that you might start from this aspect. You talked to Ichiri Goto. Chapter 4. You and Ichiri Goto became friends. Taking the initiative to chat and communicate has never been difficult for Nang Xiangxi. As long as the other party is willing to respond, Nang Xiangxi is confident that he can use humorous and superb words to make the other party stay. You chatted up Goto Kazuri. You are quite confident in your speaking skills and appearance. You think that no matter what kind of girl she is, she will not refuse to talk to you like this. Goto-san, please wait a moment. Under the setting sun in the classroom, the white curtains fluttered slightly in the wind. The classroom seems to have an indescribable sense of beauty. Putting his palm on Goto Isato's shoulder, Nang Xiangxi's voice was unhurried and his handsome features were as clean as the noon sun. He was confident about his appearance and satisfied with the timing of his speech. It's not so abrupt, it looks very natural. He was confident that no matter what kind of woman she was, she would stop in her tracks when she saw such a serious and gentle expression on his appearance value of 9. Then Nan Xiang saw the gloomy and unsociable girl with his palm on his shoulder, twitching unnaturally, and then fell to the ground stiffly. She was so frightened that she fainted. What kind of mental illness is this girl? Nang Xiang showed an expression of disbelief while observing this memory. Does ordinary physical contact with a male classmate lead to such a reaction of exploding on the spot? You carried Goto Kazuri, who still had a panic expression on her face even after she fainted, and sent her to the infirmary. At the same time, you also saw that hidden under the girl's 2 long bangs is a beautiful face that is definitely higher than your expectations. Lying on the mattress in the infirmary was a girl wearing light pink sportswear. The bangs have been pushed aside. That face that was too slender and straight showed no trace of roughness under the setting sun. The long pale pink hair surrounds the fair face, just like the dark clouds surround the moon. And the moon hidden under the dark clouds is so beautiful. He's very good looking, but he has a social disorder. The teacher in the infirmary told you that Goto Kazuri fainted because he was too nervous and his mood fluctuated too much. It was nothing serious and he should wake up after a while. As the health teacher expected, Goto Ichiri temporarily fainted due to being too nervous. She actually woke up when you were chatting with the health teacher, but listening to your voice, she was struggling. How long do you have to wear sleeping clothes? But she didn't expect that her little thoughts couldn't be hidden from you at all. You decided to 1. Deliberately touching her while she was pretending to be asleep. 2. Pretend to be very worried to make the matter worse and pretend to call an ambulance. 3. With an appearance value of 9, you have your own reserve, ignore her and just spend time with her. 4. Personal simulation. Nang Xiang chose 2. Admittedly, he admitted that the first item was indeed attractive. And he also ensured that marginalized people on campus like Goto Kazuri would not dare to spread it around even if they were really manipulated by him. But Nang Xiangxi was a standard young man with 3 good qualities. At most, he only wanted to choose this option and sighed. By the way, it's not like there are 18 different positions to choose from, so you can't seduce him at all. As for the third item, a woman who almost exploded on the spot even when she had ordinary contact with a male classmate. More reserved than her? Ah! Nang Xiangxi sneered in his heart. You deliberately expressed your worries loudly, and took out your mobile phone as if you were going to call an ambulance, causing Ichiri Goto to panic while he was pretending to be asleep. As a marginalized person in the school, she has always been eager to be noticed, but it is definitely not something like being sent to the hospital just because she had some physical contact with a male classmate to gain attention. She turned over and got up from the health bed in panic, but she met your narrow eyes at this moment. She understood that everything just happened was a farce arranged by you, a bad man. But she doesn't understand why you came to her. She is obviously a geek with a hunchback, dark circles under her eyes, and may smell of mildew remover, but you are a well-known figure in the school for her. In other words, you were more like the out-of-reach Sunday. You seemed to be aware of her thoughts, and you picked up Goto Kazuri's guitar. Teach me how to play. Why? After hearing these words, Goto Kazuri subconsciously looked at Nang Xiang. The young man sitting next to the bed was very handsome, with slightly curly hair and a pair of big and lively black eyes. He just sat on the chair and made no other movements, which made Goto Ichiri feel inexplicably pleasing to the eye. Yang Xiao, a real sunshine character. She couldn't help but start to have delusions. It would be great if I could have the same behavior as Nang Xiang, a smart head, and be regarded as the center of discussion by everyone. As if aware of her gaze, Nang Xiangxi looked over strangely. Yeah, sorry. Goto turned his gaze stiffly and spoke in a low voice but with fear. Inexplicably falling into delusions, this is her habitual problem. Why are you apologizing? Goto Ichiri lowered his head, not daring to look at Nang Xiang, and stammered, "It must be very uncomfortable to be stared at by a paramecium like me." Her voice was determined, as if she had confirmed her identity as a paramecium. The words revealed a strong sense of inferiority and self-abuse. Paramecium. Nang Xiangxi obviously noticed this as well. He frowned and then couldn't help laughing. Where can there be such a beautiful paramecium? Hey. Nang Xiang, who is at the top of the food chain in the school, actually praised a paramecium-level creature like her. An indescribable feeling of joy surged from his chest. This man will not bully himself, is he an angel? With this momentum, she mustered up the courage to ask in an extremely low voice with all her strength. Well, Senior Nang Xiang, what do you want to see me for? Teach me how to play. Nang Xiangxi, who had already said it for the second time, pointed to the guitar and spoke directly. Hey. Nang Xiang-san, are you also interested in guitar? Yes, so Goto-kun, can you guide me in my practice? The guitar was just an excuse to get closer to Goto, but in the simulator, Nango lied without making a draft or even blushing, deceiving the girl in front of him who was as easy to coax as a baby. Evil, devil. The angelic feeling just now disappeared. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 4. Goto Ichiri seemed to be able to see the black energy and little devil-like wings behind Nang Xiangxi's hearty smile. Practice, is okay, but Nang Xiang-senpai, your guitar. Goto Izato spoke cautiously. What greeted me was Nang Xiangxi's hearty words. Sorry, Goto-kun, I don't have money to buy a guitar at the moment. Can you lend me yours? That, guitar tab. Let me think about it. It would be better if Goto-san could have some ready-marked guitar tabs and lend them to me for practice. I do. Then it's decided. Just spend 3 or 4 hours a day practicing with me. Nang Xiangxi happily made the decision. 3 or 4 hours. Evil, devil. Goto Ili shrank his head, timidly lowered his fair and slender face, not daring to raise his head. Borrowing guitars and sheet music isn't a big problem, but 3 or 4 hours a day, isn't it too much to talk to oneself? Is there any problem? Goto-san. Nang Xiang pretended to be caring for the patient at the end of life, and his body came over. Question, what a big problem. After all, I have no obligation to teach you. Actually, I have a good friend who is terminally ill. Before he died, he wanted to hear me play the guitar for him. As if he was aware of Goto Ichiri's thoughts, Nang Xiang spoke with a sad expression. Hey. But. Although Nango-senpai is indeed handsome and sounds very real, it is absolutely nonsense, and 3 or 4 hours a day, I also have my own things to do. Then it's settled, please. I haven't agreed to anything yet. The happy expression on Nango's face made her decision, and Goto Ichiri wanted to muster up the courage. But in the end, he was defeated by the reality of social fear. He lowered his head and spoke hesitantly. No problem. Obviously, Ichiri Goto doesn't know the term people's hearts are sinister after being praised by you, the top student in the second grade, for your good looks with a sincere expression. She, who already admires you, can no longer refuse any of your requests. You are secretly upset. Goto Ichiri's weakness is beyond your expectation. You may be able to ask for more. You became friends with Ichiri Goto. Chapter 5. I am CPU. Huh, after all this effort, we just became friends. Temporarily separated from the simulation, Nangxiang exhaled heavily, his eyes filled with disbelief at the creature Ichiri Goto. Aren't girls just creatures who will queue up to send him love letters and chocolates if he just leaves him alone? Why is it so difficult to get it done here at Goto Ichiri? Sure enough, it's because she's a two-dimensional heroine, right? He glanced sideways at the time. Lunch break is almost over. Giving up on the idea of going to class 3 of the first year to take a look at Goto Ichiri during lunch break, Nangxiang focused his energy on the simulation again. You became friends with Ichiri Goto. You told her that the so-called 3 or 4 hours of teaching every day was actually just a joke. It was enough for her to spare part of her time to guide herself. After hearing this, Ichiri Goto was finally relieved, but behind this relief, there seemed to be some regrets unique to a little girl. It's a new day. You wake up according to your usual schedule and go to class as usual. Yesterday, the fact that you took the initiative to go to class 3, grade 3, to look for Goto Kazuri seemed to have spread among the student body. Everyone was talking about it. They all didn't understand that you, who is in the middle of the campus, would take the initiative to look for Goto Kazuri. Talk to people on the margins. But you don't care. For you who have a high degree of self-discipline, other people's evaluations have nothing to do with you. The lunch break comes as promised, you decide. 1. Go to an appointment and learn guitar. 2. Learning guitar is just an excuse. Goto-kun, please be my girlfriend, let's get there in one step. 3. Two-dimensional heroines are really difficult to handle, so let's find other girls to play with. 4. Personal simulation. Nangxiang Shi took a cursory glance, and after confirming that it was a question for free points, he chose the first option. After his previous contact with Goto Ichiri, he knew exactly what kind of social terror this woman was. There is no need to consider the second option at all. As for the third option, why does he always think about playing with other girls? Sure enough, it was just a simulator, and it couldn't imitate my own innocence and concentration. You decided to learn guitar from Ichiri Goto. Although the guitar was just an excuse for you to get in touch with Ichiri Goto, you still felt that you should go all out in everything rather than just perfunctory. After all, if you get along for a long time in the future, this will be a sign of responsibility for your relationship with Ichiri Goto. You have been studying guitar hard for a week. While studying, you never forget to chat with Ichiri Goto. In the borrowed music room, you and Ichiri Goto chatted about everything. Under your witty words, Ichiri Goto gradually forgot about his nervousness and started talking to each other. Memories begin to appear. Ichiri Goto, who had been instructing Nango on basic guitar chord knowledge for a week and had already relaxed a little, spoke cautiously. That, Senior Nangxiang. What's up? Today's Nangxiang is still as dazzling as ever in Goto Ichiri's eyes. Against the afterglow of the sun, he held the guitar diagonally with his white palms, and there was an indescribable sense of concentration on his handsome face. It seems that compared to the sunshine, Goto Ichiri, who was always used to hiding in dark and damp corners, felt ashamed of himself. She looked at her toes uneasily, and her fingers tangled together unconsciously. Why do you want to learn guitar from me? As long as Senior Nangxiang claps his hands, there should be many girls in the school who can play guitar who are willing to teach you, right? Yes. Although he has been coaching Nango for a week, Goto Kazuri still doesn't understand. For someone as popular as Nangxiang Shi, a central figure on campus, as long as he opens his mouth, there should be many girls who have learned guitar willing to come up and teach him, not to mention 2 or 3 hours, even more than 10 hours, or even 2 hours. Studying one-on-one and all night long, isn't a problem, right? Rather than being with someone like her who is not gregarious and even has difficulty communicating. Aren't there many, many suitable candidates? She didn't understand, so she wanted to ask. But just asking this question seemed to have used all the girl's courage and strength. After she spoke, she only dared to shrink her neck and lower her head. She didn't even have the courage to look directly at Nang Xiang. Instead of being with someone like Godu-san. He seemed to have read her thoughts. Nang Xiang she put down his guitar and fell into deep thought. Senior Nang Xiang is thinking. You really think I'm not good at all, right? No. Maybe it's better this way, instead of hanging out with a buffoon like me all day long, this week is enough fun. Nang Xiang's silence made Goto Ichiri, who was born with low self-esteem, fall into deeper self-doubt. There was an unspeakable sour feeling in my heart. Sociophobia is a creature that is extremely good at self-harm. They will be so happy that they get carried away with the recognition of others. You will also feel heartbroken and sad because of the hurt caused by others. At this moment, Nango Toki spoke with a calm and sincere expression. What if I say that I just want to learn guitar with Goto-san? There is not even a hint of deception in these words. Why? The timid Goto Ichiri shrank his head, obviously not expecting to get such an answer. What's so surprising? Nang Xiangshi's fingers pressed the guitar strings again. Gold will always shine. Goto-san plays the guitar so well. Not to mention how cute he is, there will always be people who are willing to know about Goto-san's excellence in the future place. What's so great about me? Goto whispered this word in a low voice, his eyes timidly looking from behind his bangs to the boy in front of him. Nang Xiangshi's sincere words without any lies deeply moved her, who had been in a gloomy situation all year round and whose life was colorless. Social phobia, if viewed in animation, might be a really interesting setting. But no one has ever put themselves in the shoes of a person who actually has social phobia disorder. Desperate desire to communicate with others. But deep down, I was afraid of this kind of communication. I am afraid of causing discomfort to others, so I can only close my heart. Tangled, contradictory, autistic. Over time, he becomes taciturn, unable to communicate with others, and even makes others feel uncomfortable. This long-standing feeling of loneliness has been lingering in my heart all year round, and the sky is also a gloomy color. I can only hide in the online world, practice guitar hard, and temporarily escape reality, so as to gain some inner vanity satisfaction. She knows that many things in the online world are virtual, but that is her only social spiritual sustenance. Inferiority and self-pity, but also self-pity. After communicating with her for a week, Nang Xiang knew that this was Goto Kazuri, the main tone of her life of extreme fear and uneasiness. Difficult woman. So, let me be the first person to understand Goto-san, how about that? So, in the sunshine, he stretched out his hand to the timid Goto Izato who was huddled in the shadows. Hesitate. Long hesitations and silences. Just when Nang Xiang sighed secretly, he felt that he might have been too hasty. The white and slender palms cautiously and suddenly grasped his outstretched palm with undetectable speed. Nang Xiang looked at Goto Kazuri in surprise as he quickly retracted his hand. I will work hard. She spoke with a trembling voice in the sunshine. The eyes hidden under the bangs are still timid. But that too fair face was filled with blush. Goto Kazuri showed some courage. Beautiful as a flower. Your status in Goto Ichiri's heart has increased. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 5. Chapter 6. Everything seems to be going in the right direction. The relationship between you and Ichiri Goto has deepened, and your status in her mind has become more important. And after chatting, you also understand that the nerves of the girl in front of you are as thin as hair, and they will break if they are stretched even slightly. She only treats the outside world with fear, caution, and a groveling attitude towards others. This is the only way she can protect herself. Method. And because she spent most of her time practicing guitar, Goto Ichiri's academic performance was very poor. She never had friends, nor took the initiative to talk to others. She even had the idea of dropping out of school many times. She was willing to be her. You, as a friend, are the only bright spot in her school life, and you understand this girl on a deeper level. On the internet, she is a YouTube blogger with 30,000 fans, and her guitar playing skills are superb, but in real life, she is a complete weakling. As long as you are willing to communicate with her, she will be very satisfied. During a casual chat, you heard her mention that she joined a rock band outside school, but she had no confidence in her performance after joining the band. She might spend less time communicating with you. She had the idea of giving up. Faced with Goto Ichiri confiding your troubles for the first time, you decided. 1. Sincerely thinks it is better to give up, than give up. 2. Just a few perfunctory sentences. 3. This may be a rare opportunity, encourage her to try. 4. Free simulation. Looking at these options, Nang Xiang fell into thinking. The second item does not need to be considered at all, it is simply the option of death. Then, the final choice should be between first and third. He followed what Ichiri Goto said and persuaded her to give up. Or should you encourage her to keep working hard and come on? There is no doubt that following Goto Kazuri's own wishes and persuading her to give up will undoubtedly increase the other person's good impression of her. Similarly, if she has completely lost communication with the outside world, she will definitely rely more on and trust him, the only one who is willing. Someone who listens to her talk about her troubles. But is there really no problem in Goto Kazuri's world if he is the only one in the world? Through the simulation, Nang Xiang she could clearly feel how much Goto Ichiri longed to get rid of social fear. She was troubled by it, sighed for it, and even huddled in the closet alone, hating her own cowardice with tears in her eyes. Nang Xiang chose the third option. You analyzed the current situation seriously and encouraged Ichiri Goto. You know that if you only communicate with yourself, it will only increase the girl's dependence on you. Communicating more with other people is like scattering seeds in Goto Ichiri's heart. You sincerely hope that these seeds will take root and sprout, and see her step out of the shadows and walk freely in the sunshine. With your encouragement, Goto Kazuri decided to engage in band activities, but every day, she will still seriously guide you to practice guitar. This is her agreement with you. No matter how busy she is, she will never forget it. You are still chatting with her in the music room in front of the humorous and cheerful you. She who was originally timid and afraid of going to school is having a great time every day, and the smiles on her originally gloomy face are gradually increasing. School life used to be so unbearable for her, but now because of your presence, she can muster the courage to face everything in front of her bravely. Memories begin to emerge. Senior Nang Xiang, that, I played the wrong chord. With a faint blush on his face, Goto Ichisato pointed out Nang Xiang's mistake in a low voice. Ah, thank you, Goto-kun. The boy who had his mistake pointed out did not feel any displeasure. A hearty smile appeared in Goto Ichiri's eyes, and he pressed his fair and slender fingers on the guitar strings again. Goto Ichiri remained sitting quietly and did not speak. Some timid eyes came out from behind the light pink bangs, like the sunshine outside the window, secretly falling on the young man's handsome face. She dared not speak. She just put a dull, timid gaze on the young man's face, and she had already exhausted all her strength. Afternoon sunshine. Just right. Looking at you, she thought, maybe she too will one day return to the sun. The memories fade away, and at the same time, options jump out. Everything seems to be developing in a good direction. You decide. 1. Ichiri Goto's situation still makes you uneasy. Please continue to pay attention to Ichiri Goto's situation. 2. Occasionally, you should also focus on other things, and temporarily take your eyes away from Goto Ichiri. 3. It's too boring to fall in love all the time, let's study instead. 4. Personal simulation. 4 more options. If it were placed in real life, perhaps Nangxiang would choose 3. After all, I have to enrich my spiritual world and satisfy my desire to learn occasionally. But it is a simulation after all. Moreover, Goto Ichiri's social fear situation is indeed worrying. Move your finger to the first option when you are in Nangxiang. Everything seems to be moving in a good direction. You continue to focus on Goto Ichiri's situation and spend every day happily with her, but the wind direction on campus has quietly changed without you knowing it. It seems that because you, a central figure on campus, often spend time alone with Ichiri Goto in the music room, rumors spread among the girls group who already have some admiration and love for you on campus. You don't care about the rumors in the school, you focus all your attention on Goto Ichiri. The opinions of others have nothing to do with you. It wasn't until one day that you noticed that the smile on Goto Ichiri's face, who came to the music room every day, seemed to be getting less and less, that you vaguely realized that something was wrong. After a day of guitar practice, you, who was a little concerned about Goto Ichiri, quietly followed her to the alley outside the school. There you saw her for the first time, hugging her knees, with her fair and pretty face stained with tears. When I was in Nangxiang, I immersed my thoughts in the world of memory. The dark, damp, and cold alley was long and dark. The subtle cry seemed imperceptible. Nangxiang takes a step forward. You sat next to Ichiri Goto, who was hugging her knees and crying softly, breathing the cold, damp air that she usually breathed in the closet. She was a little surprised at your arrival, then she lowered her head, and then she threw herself into your arms, crying uncontrollably with guilt, but the cry was still so weak. She told you with guilt that it was her fault that caused rumors to spread in the school and your image was also damaged. You comforted her and told her you didn't care. Memories began to emerge. Chapter 7. You know Ichiri Goto better. Sorry. It has nothing to do with Goto-kun. Nangxiang gently stroked Goto Izato's long hair, feeling her trembling body. I'm sorry, if I could be better. She sobbed quietly. You are good enough. 30,000 people on the internet are following you. In the cold alley, Goto Kazuri could still feel the warmth from Nangxiang's gentle words. But the more this happened, the more she hated herself. I hate my helpless self. I hate my cowardly self. I hate myself for being unable to look at others. She is called Guitar Hero on the internet, and she just wants to be like a hero. The result is just this, powerless. Faced with the rumor mongers, even a rebuttal voice cannot be raised. Blame me. Senior Nangxiang has spent so long with me, but I still haven't changed at all. It's obvious that Senior Nangxiang has worked so hard. If only I could have more courage. I don't give a damn what those people at school say. Goto Ichiri did not respond to the sentence, but silently raised his head and looked at Nangxiang. The boy's face was as cheerful as ever. This excessive tenderness also made her feel even more heartbroken. She lowered her head, hugged her knees, and fell into silence for a long time. A long time passed. She finally raised her head and said, "Please, leave me alone. Just say these words." Goto felt as if he had fallen into endless darkness. There is black everywhere here. It's like a cemetery in the wilderness with no moonlight. All the strength in his body was ruthlessly stripped away. The ground seemed to have become soft. The oxygen in the air also seemed to become thinner. When she looked at Nangxiang, Nangxiang also looked at her. Subsequently, Nangxiang laughed. As cheerful and sunny as usual. I don't agree. He said. Why? After taking his hand out of Nangashi's, Goto Ichiri's voice was still weak. Being with someone with an awkward and gloomy personality like myself is obviously a form of torture. Because that's not what you really meant to say. That's what I really mean. She was a little awkward, but she was emphasizing seriously. She wasn't kidding. Yet. As he said this, he leaned over and looked seriously into her eyes. That's not what they say here. Then, he slowly put his hand on her chest. Through the thick sportswear, I can still feel the rapid heartbeat. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 6. That's not what it says here either, he said. Goto Izato's sight was snatched away by his approaching face. Besides, I also want to learn guitar from Ili. You can also learn from other girls. I think that's okay too. Nanxiangshi pulled away from the face that was close to him. Listen to his words. Goto Ichiri felt a pulling and pinching pain in his heart. His throat was also surprisingly dry and he couldn't say anything. I only want you, I don't want anyone else. Nanxiangshi said slowly, grabbing Goto Iri's hand that had nowhere to rest on it again. The sincere tone also made Goto Ichiri aware that there was no trace of affection hidden behind the words. What's so good about a person like me? She had lost all her strength, and this sentence was her last meager resistance. I should be allowed to say this. Nanxiangshi's right hand clasped Goto Izato's palm, and the fingers of his left hand slowly caressed her face. What's wrong with you? If she denies herself 100 times, you are willing to affirm her 1,000 or 10,000 times. In the dark alley. Her white palms interlocked with Nanxiangshi's fingers, holding them tightly together. Is it because of the turbid air? She thinks. Why? Can your heart beat so fast? You comforted her and told her that you didn't care at all from the beginning, you only wanted her. Your vision was so narrow that it never accommodated other women. You and Ichiri Goto became lovers. In the real world, Nanxiang rubbed his forehead after temporarily withdrawing from the memory world. The development of things is somewhat beyond your expectation. But generally speaking, in this simulation, I did successfully develop a romantic relationship with Goto Kazuri. Although the scene of confession may not be romantic in a remote alley. But overall it was a success. It's just that although they successfully became lovers, Nanxiangshi didn't have much joy on his face. Because he vaguely felt that the development of things might not be that simple. Behind the seemingly calm and stable confession, there is a fact that cannot be ignored: Goto Kazuri's social phobia. In this simulation, he and Goto Kazuri met, recognized each other, got to know each other, and fell in love with some ups and downs, but overall it was smooth sailing. But the core of the problem, Goto Ichiri's social phobia, has not been satisfactorily resolved. But, put these aside and look at it. Apart from some extreme social fears, Goto Kazuri is indeed a good woman. Thinking of this, Nanxiangshi shook his head and sank into the simulation again. He wants to continue to wait and see the subsequent development. You and Ichiri Goto became a couple, but the situation did not change. The gossip in the school continued. Perhaps it would be a better choice to suppress it from the beginning. Facing this situation, as if she had made some kind of determination, she told you one day that she decided to quit the band. Although you expressed your disapproval of her decision, she also has an unexpectedly persistent side in her character you failed to convince your girlfriend for the first time. After Ichiri Goto left the band, she had significantly more time at her disposal. She put down her beloved guitar and began to learn about making friends on the internet and in real magazines. She also learned about clothing, makeup, etc. knowledge. Under the influence of these things, Goto Kazuri, who was originally outstanding in appearance, gained everyone's attention. In order to keep up with your pace, she has also worked hard in her studies, but her academic performance has never been ideal, and she has achieved little results. You have never disliked her and tutored her carefully. Similarly, you are vaguely aware that a large part of the reason why your girlfriend has made such a huge change is because of you. On campus, the original gossip situation has greatly changed. With his outstanding appearance, diligent communication, serious friendship with everyone, and maintaining a gentle smile, Goto Kazuri is enough to win everyone's recognition. She put her arm around Nang Xiang's shoulders, her cute face catching the eye. Everyone was happy to have such a beautiful and lovely girlfriend in Nang Xiang. Even Nang Xiangshi himself felt that his girlfriend who worked hard to change for him was so dazzling. Perhaps the environment around you is so smooth that you have not considered that it is difficult for a person to undergo such a huge change in such a short period of time. Time flies by. On the night of your senior year of high school graduation, Goto Kazuri asked you out. That night, with her shy personality, she made you understand what it was like to satisfy women in all kinds of positions. Your relationship with Ichiri Goto has taken a further step. You know Ichiri Goto better. Chapter 8. You are living in embarrassment. At night, lying on the bed, you look sideways at your girlfriend, who is used to curling up into a small ball and leaning on your chest when sleeping endearing. You don't need anything else, but you must take good care of her. You made up your mind and reached out to gently hug the other person's delicate body. Your actions woke her up from her deep sleep, and Goto Ichiri's ears turned red while she was lying on the pillow. She is still as shy as ever, not daring to look up at you. At this time, you talked about her participation in band activities when she was a freshman in high school. You have always felt guilty about your girlfriend giving up her band activities and putting down her favorite guitar. You know that a large part of the reason why Goto Kazuri made this decision came from you. Regarding your guilt, Goto Kazuri just held your hand gently and asked if you wanted to go out for a walk. You promised her, and the two of you came to the park. Goto Ichiri held your arm and whispered to you not to care about the past. The night in Tokyo is not deep, and the black night extends outward. Neon lights color the curtain. The whole city was pulsating. Nang Xiang walked forward, and on the side of his shoulder was Goto's slightly warm breath. Ashi, do you remember the days when you were in school with me and I guided you to practice guitar? Under the light, the two cuddled tightly together, and Goto Ichiri's voice came with a little reminiscence. Nang Xiang nodded, then sighed slightly. He actually knows the reason why his girlfriend gave up the guitar and band activities. He just wanted to speak. His girlfriend's fingers gently stopped on his lips. I have no regrets. Under the light, Goto Ili looked up at him, the edges of his face were slightly transparent. She said it very seriously. Giving up the guitar and band activities were all out of my own will and had nothing to do with Ashi. I have never regretted it. His girlfriend's gentle comfort just made Nang Xiangshi shake his head, but that's your dream. He clearly knew how hard Goto Kazuri had worked for his dream. Working hard to practice guitar until there are calluses on the fingertips, one day relying on one's own efforts to perform on stage and gain everyone's attention, that has been Goto Ichiri's dream since he was in junior high school. But the girl tied herself up and stayed by his side. As if sensing Nang Xiang's guilt, Goto Ichiri hugged him gently. Under the night sky with some falling snow. When Goto Ichiri didn't know how to comfort Nang Xiang, she could only half raise her little face and look at Nang Xiang. Repeatedly in a clumsy, low voice, "It's okay, it's okay. The night is already deep." You and Ichiri Goto cuddled together, standing on the observation deck of the park and looking down. Below are the trees and flowers, and the lights of thousands of houses. Thousands of people are moving. Incredible World 342967465. Light renders the shadow of a girl's dream. Nango Toki and Goto Ichiri cuddled closer. You look at the beautiful girl next to you. She only belongs to you now. She voluntarily stays in the exquisite and beautiful golden cage that you weaved for her. To her, you are much more important than vain dreams. It's so important that she's willing to give up everything just to stay by your side. You know this clearly, but you don't want to do this, because you can feel that the girl really has regrets when she speaks, and you have made a certain decision. As a senior in high school, as everyone expected, you were admitted to an excellent and prestigious university. However, you did not go to school as everyone expected. Instead, you chose an unknown university. You erased all traces of yourself in Goto Ichiri's life and disappeared from her world. For this reason, Goto Ichiri is looking for you like crazy, but you have prepared too much for this day. You have carefully prepared all kinds of things that have completely eliminated all the ways she can find. When she rushed to your house, she could only see an empty room with a brand new wooden guitar and a farewell letter left on the table. In the letter, you told Ichiri Goto that you didn't want to lock her up, destroy or deny her dreams, and you didn't want everything she had worked hard to go to waste. You are the thorn that stops her from moving forward. This is true in life and in dreams. Since she is reluctant to overcome all obstacles, it's up to you to do it. Goto Ichiri, who was holding the guitar, fell into silence. She locked herself in the closet for several days. When she reappeared, she began to practice the guitar crazily without eating or sleeping. She rejoined the band she had previously quit, and crushed the show with her absolute guitar hero skills, capturing the hearts of everyone who came to watch the show. She practiced guitar desperately and even dropped out of high school to devote herself to band activities. The persuasion of friends around her cannot stop her firm will, and the praise and recognition of others cannot even arouse her slightest joy. Therefore, she has been given the title of Queen of Ice and Snow Rock in Setagaya district. The members of the band have a good relationship with each other and they can understand her, but most people just think she is just an emotionless rock lunatic. But what no one knows is that every time she goes on stage, exhausted from practicing guitar, she will scan the crowd seriously, hoping to catch the shadow of the person she wants to see. With the efforts of Ichiri Goto, the end band infected a large number of listeners with its extremely high popularity, and soon debuted across the country, becoming the most popular rock band nowadays and a frequent guest on TV. Gradually, some people discovered that Goto Kazuri would only use the same wood-colored electric guitar every time she performed on stage. This attracted the attention of many people. They felt that this seemed to be one of the factors that made her popular. The current season's wood-colored electric guitars are selling very well. You hide in a room that only you know, relying on your strong learning talent and ability to detect faces. You quickly become a senior executive of a company. You are handsome and young, and you become the leader of many women in the company, the object of your dreams, but in reality, except for work, you rarely have contact with outsiders. Every day you only have to end the band's performance every time, which you never miss. Watching Ichiri Goto, who is known as the Queen of Guitar on TV, sitting in a small room and eating cheap bento, you are just happy for the other person from the bottom of your heart. In fact, your salary was enough for you to move to a better apartment, but in the first few years of the band's debut, you hid your name and secretly remitted a lot of your savings to the band. These remittances helped them survive their debut. There were many difficulties in the early days. Because of this, you are not rich now. On the contrary, you are living in a bit of embarrassment. Just when you think life will go on like this, accidents always happen in unpredictable ways. Ichiri Goto found you. Memories surged from my mind. Chapter 9. Everything seems to be going in the right direction. Looking at the mature woman with long pink hair, slender figure, and tears in her eyes, Nangxiang was a little surprised when she bumped into Nangxiang, who was carrying a plastic bag in a convenience store. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudao Ziwei. Chapter 7. This place is more than 100 kilometers away from Tokyo, where the other party is located. How did the other party find him? Nangxiang, she couldn't help but start thinking in his mind. Although he has been eating half-price lunch boxes for a long time, his thinking ability has not deteriorated at all. With just a little thought, he understands how the other party found him. In the early years, in order to help the newly debuted band The End, he secretly transferred money anonymously, and the amounts were not small. As long as someone is willing to investigate a little, they can understand where it is sent from. Nangxiang sighed and looked at Goto Ichiri in front of him. It's different from Kazuri Goto in high school. Her figure was already beginning to take shape at that time, and now her body is plump and mature. The fair and beautiful face has completely grown, but the childishness of the original student no longer remains, and it looks delicate and beautiful. Those pair of faint blue eyes were looking at him. Among them, there were tears. Nan Xiangshi's movements paused. He stood there, feeling as if he had been caught and raped by his wife, and seemed a little at a loss. Not knowing how to describe his relationship with the other party, he stood there, waiting for Goto Kazuri to accuse him. Is this what you want for dinner? The expected accusations did not come. Nangxiang watched as Ichiri Goto took the half-price lunchbox away from his hand. Looking at the shabby dinner in the plastic bag, she held his hand without saying a word. In the memory of Nangxiang, this was the first time that Goto Kazuri was so strong towards him. Where are we going? Nangxiang she couldn't help but ask. Go to your house, I'll cook for you. Nangxiang she just wanted to speak. But he felt the strength of Goto Isato's palm getting stronger. Ah I've lost weight. The choking in her voice made Nangxiang she give up the idea of speaking anymore. In front of him, she is not the queen who conquers everyone with her skillful skills on the screen, but the childish Ili who cries easily. There is no grand reunion, no continuous monologue of love words. The two just walked forward on the road. From all around, there were piercing glances from fans who recognized Goto Kazuri as the queen of national rock. Feeling the gazes from all around, Nangxiang's hand, which was held by Goto Ichiri, relaxed slightly. But soon, he felt it. Every time he loosens up, Goto's hand becomes stronger. Yes. She was going to hold on tight. Never let go again. Goto Ichiri moved into your home. It was very small, not even as good as the equipment room where she now stacks musical instruments, but she didn't care. She just used unskilled knives to prepare ingredients for you. You saw your former girlfriend's embarrassment, took the initiative to take the knife, and said you were helping, but actually made a sumptuous meal. Goto Ichisato felt a little embarrassed and gently hit your chest with his fist. We haven't seen each other for several years, but the relationship between you two is not at all unfamiliar. On the contrary, it has become even closer because of this long separation. Ichisato Goto moved in, and after a few years, you spent the whole night discussing guitar and playing with her again. After years of accumulation, Goto Ichiri's enthusiasm once made you unable to resist. Leaning on the back of the bed, you gently stroked Goto Isato's long hair, your smooth back, and answered her questions word by word. Goto doesn't complain at all about your leaving without saying goodbye. She has become the national guitar queen, but she is still the timid girlfriend in front of you who lets you control her. In this regard, you expressed your concerns just today. What she was having trouble with herself might be published in the paparazzi papers tomorrow. Although the rock band may not care about it, you don't want to let Goto Kazuri's reputation be damaged in the slightest. Compared to your worries, Goto Kazuri is very open-minded. She has long thought of retiring, and after several years of band activities, she has already accumulated a huge sum of money. This huge sum of money, it's enough for you and her to last until you die. Even if it's left in the bank to earn interest, it will be enough for future generations. As for her money, it's actually your money. Looking at Goto Kazuri, whose eyes were serious and showed no intention of retreating, this time, you did not continue to be stubborn and respected her decision. The next day, Ichiri Goto took you to the press conference. At the press conference, she clearly stated her intention to retire and marry you. This sudden news caused a huge sensation throughout Japan. But Ichiri Goto didn't care. She introduced you to the members of the end band. Regarding Ichiri Goto's sudden and somewhat irresponsible withdrawal, many members did not complain at all, only reluctantly, but in the end, they still expressed their blessings to you and her. Your wedding to Ichiri Goto was not grand. You didn't have many friends when you were a student. The only people who could attend the wedding were a few colleagues you knew and your own family. The situation with Ichiri Goto was similar. She devoted herself to the guitar and the band, and no one came to the wedding except her family and band members. But none of this is important. You and her only have each other in their eyes. You held a wedding. You and Ichiri Goto became husband and wife. Finally got to this point. Temporarily suspending his recollection, Nangxiang breathed out a heavy breath and at the same time glanced at the class that had already started for half a day. As the number one in his grade, he naturally enjoys privileges that ordinary students do not have. Even if he loses focus in class, the teacher does not blame him at all. The content of this class was not too difficult, it was just something Nangxiang she could do casually, and he no longer planned to listen to it. Because compared to the content of the course, Nangxiang was more concerned about Goto Kazuri in the real world. The girl who is feeling sorry for herself and is timid and scared. How are you living today? He thought about it for a moment, then gave up. After simply adjusting his mentality, Nangxiang she re-entered the simulation. You and your wife have a happy married life, as she said. The huge amount of money she has is enough for you to live a comfortable life. Even if you do nothing, you love your wife deeply, just as she loves you deeply. The description of the simulator is simple: married life is very happy. But since he is so happy, why hasn't the simulation ended yet? Nangxiang she vaguely sensed something was wrong and continued to look down. You have decided to have a child to continue your current happiness. Everything seems to be moving in a good direction. There it is again. The word seems is very subtle when used here. Nangxiang frowned and continued to look down. But neither you nor your wife, who are immersed in happiness, noticed the foreshadowing left long ago. A turning point occurred. Chapter 10. So, the mountains were filled with red. A turning point happened. My wife suddenly fell ill, but you don't understand why your wife, who looks so healthy in front of you, suddenly changes like this under your questioning. The doctor told the truth. The reason why my wife was able to become the queen of guitar rock music is closely related to her practicing day and night and forgetting food and sleep over the years. The pressure of the band's break-in period, the expectations of the audience, and constant practice, all kinds of high pressure are borne by the wife alone for the sake of the band. The wife actually often secretly takes some psychostimulant comfort drugs to endure it, but endurance does not mean disappearing. Not see the fragile human body simply cannot withstand years of high-intensity stress. My wife's character is secretly strong. She has never told you these things, but her strong spirit cannot support her fragile physique. The time spent with you is very peaceful. The nerves that have temporarily calmed down can no longer support the shaky body that has been ravaged by drugs for a long time. Her constitution is too weak due to over-medication, and you can only watch her lose weight day after day, and her face becomes paler. The originally abundant savings were spent like water, but this did not restore the wife's health. You wanted to be by your wife's side during this period, but you had to run around for your wife's medical expenses. Fortunately, members of Ichiri Goto's band period have reached out to help at this time for them. Ichiri Goto is a companion and an irreplaceable best friend. You met Ryo Yamada, Hikaru Itaka, and Ikuyo Kida. My wife's condition is getting worse day by day. The band members often come to see Goto. Ichiri's condition, you always take time to entertain them. Busy work, mental pressure, and your wife's illness have not overwhelmed you. You always believe in yourself and your wife can overcome this difficulty. Your self-discipline and strength make the members of the band that ended sincerely admire you. They finally understand why Ichiri Goto would rather retire at the peak of his career than marry you. But your careful care and high medical expenses have not had much effect. Goto Ichiri is weakening faster day by day. In a season when the maple leaves turned red, her life burned to the end along with the red leaves. At the last moment of life, she tells you that although it was short-lived, she lived a happy life. You didn't speak, just gently touched your wife's forehead. You have always been the sun in her depressed and lonely life, giving her meticulous comfort in the days when she endured the darkness alone. I have no regrets. His wife raised her hand and stroked Nan Xiangshi's face. Nan Xiangshi put his hand on her palm. Her hand was small and thin. The red leaves outside the window burned silently. Nan Xiangshi looked out the window for a long time, then gently stood up and closed the curtains for his wife. Then he touched her forehead and her fair but haggard face. 1 mile. Nan Xiangshi wanted to say something, but he looked at his wife's weak face. He was silent when he could talk about novel ideas in front of his bosses and clients. Life is short, but a moment is long. He didn't say anything in the end, he just held her hand tightly and spent the last period of time with her quietly. Your wife accidentally stepped out of time once she left time, she was fixed, while you continued to move forward under the influence of time. The faucet at home stopped, the glass became quiet, and the floor stopped creaking. You won't be able to get over this deep scar for a long time. During those days, in addition to the comfort of my parents and father-in-law, members of the band also came to visit frequently. Perhaps due to your previous devotion and devotion to your wife, you attracted the attention of Yamada Ryo without your knowledge after communicating with the band. Ryo Yamada comes to visit more often. Ryo Yamada? Nang Xiang, who was feeling a little depressed, received feedback from his memory. Judging from the memories in my mind, that should be the bassist who ended the band. The other person has crisp, short hair, and under the blue hair that covers his eyes, he has a mature, delicate, and neutral face that hides emotions all year round and rarely has emotional fluctuations. But this look, why does it look familiar? Nang Xiangshi frowned and recalled for a while. But he soon gave up and continued to look down. You are in a state of decadence, and you are already a little unable to take care of yourself. During those days, it was Yamada Ryo who took out the band's free time to bring meals, visit people, ask people to help clean up, and also use that neutral, beautiful, and delicate face Kong, tell some bad jokes that are not funny to make you laugh. Your relationship with Ryo Yamada has gotten better. Ryo Yamada, what are you doing? Nang Xiangshi really wanted to ask. One winter day, leaning on the edge of the handrail of the park's observation deck, Yamada Ryo confessed to you you didn't understand why the other person was so obsessed with you, so you asked Yamada Ryo. She told you that when the band just debuted, they encountered a lot of difficulties at that time. It was your secret remittances and constant envelopes of encouragement that supported her. You have seen Ryo Yamada's silent dedication for a long time, but you have spent all your thoughts on your deceased wife. If you agreed to Ryo Yamada casually and perfunctorily, you would be extremely irresponsible to her. You rejected Yamada Ryo's confession, but her confession also made you understand what you really need. In a season where maple leaves can be seen, you left a suicide note and walked slowly into the center of the lake with firm steps. A cold feeling swept through your body, but you felt so at ease in the suffocation of the gradual lack of oxygen. It seems that you can see your timid wife in high school a long time ago in the deepest part of the cold lake. She smiled like a flower. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Ziwei. Chapter 8. Autumn takes you away, leaving behind the withered maple leaves and the mountains. You sink into the deepest place, and everything returns to peace. End of simulation. System evaluation, 67 points. System evaluation. You met her and got to know each other well. There is nothing wrong with paying too much attention to the person you like during the acquaintance, but occasionally you need to pull your eyes away and look at the scenery in life. Maybe you will gain something else. The relationship between you and her, there were twists and turns in the relationship, but the love with her remained unwavering. Your married life was very happy for you. She gave up her dreams, and for her, you gave up a better future. You two accommodated each other and supported each other, but unfortunately you couldn't make it to the end together. System prompt. You have completed a complete love simulation. Now you can start the simulation from various options. System settlement. You have obtained the love stops here. Go to Kazuri, Queen of Rock, learning card, and you have obtained specialty music LV1. Nangxiang didn't pay much attention to the prompts at the back of the system. Affected by the simulated memory, he was a little silent. After a long time, he breathed out heavily. He now had the urge to immediately run to the classroom of Class 3, pick out the woman Ichiri Goto, push her against the wall and bully her severely. How could this woman do such a thing? He secretly took drugs, exhausted his mind and body, and collapsed. Nan Xiangxi shook his head, collected the messy thoughts in his heart, and focused on the love simulator. Now he can start the simulation from various options. The meaning of the sentence system is very simple. It is like a word game with an additional function of saving files and reading files. He can freely choose to start the simulation from the options, that is, loading files. Perform simulation. But the key thing may be the other things you get. When Nangxiang looked at the system page, he saw some panels. Chapter 11. The woman known as the national treasure of mankind. Love simulator. Bind user, Nangxiangxi. Appearance, 9, sports, 6, academic ability, 8, specialty, learning LV4, music LV1, props, love stops here, go to Kazuri, Queen of Rock, study card. Simulator evaluation. A handsome young man with a promising future is a rare and sought-after commodity among women of all ages, including some men with extraordinary sexual interests. Nangxiangxi was thinking about clicking music LV1. Some rough and superficial music theory knowledge gradually emerged in Nangxiangxi's mind. With the academic score of 8 points in Nangxiang, the music theory knowledge in his mind is not that difficult for him to understand. But because the category of music covers too much, Nangxiangxi could only stuff the miscellaneous musical instrument memories back into his mind and temporarily extract some guitar-related content. The knowledge about guitar given by the system is extremely rough and superficial, worthy of the LV1 level. Nangxiangxi feels that, using the guitar as an example, LV1 is probably at the level of a beginner who has just been exposed to guitar for about a month. I know some basic fingering skills and have some level of appreciation, but to put it bluntly, I am just a novice who has just started. This level, judging from Nangxiang's LV4 learning expertise and 8 points of academic ability, can be easily achieved in about a week of practice. This made Nangxiangxi even more curious. If LV1 is this level, I wonder what the level of Goto Kazuri, who is known as the Queen of Rock and Roll, is. He turned to look at the study card content. Love stops here, Goto Kazuri, Queen of Rock, study card. Excellent talent, hard work, and practice day and night have created the ultimate guitar playing skills. She has appeared on the stage as the lead guitar countless times, and has honed her unrivaled performance style. As long as she appears on the stage, she will inevitably become the center of the stage. Her rise was the highlight of an era of Japanese rock music. She retired at her peak and fell like a meteor, which made her legendary life. When this log-colored guitar plays, can you still remember the timid girl hiding behind you in your memory? Using Kazuri Goto, Queen of Rock, study cards, you will briefly gain all the understanding of music and the hard-earned experience of going on stage by Kazuri Goto, who was known as the Queen of Rock in the past. Oh! Nangxiang blinked. In other words, after using the learning card, he will briefly gain all the guitar talent and understanding of music of the second week rock queen Toichiri, and even the stage experience of the other party can be obtained with in-depth study. This is equivalent to the 10 times experience card in the game. As long as this short time lasts. After Nangxiangxi took a look at the label of Rock Queen Noodles, 24 hours, he was probably sure. But what kind of love simulator is this? Just change its name to Learning Simulator. Nangxiangxi couldn't help but poke at the system panel in front of him. The props given are all things for him to learn on his own. The key is Ichiri Goto's study cards. I didn't have the money to buy a guitar when I was in Nangxiang. Already said before. He worked his way from a small county town to Bunkyo district in Tokyo. Although this looks very beautiful, the family situation in Nangxiang was not wealthy. The family was barely able to provide for him to eat, drink and study in Tokyo. Buy another guitar and pick up his hobbies. When I was in Nangxiang, I thought it was impossible. Although he really wants to learn the guitar, with this skill, he might be able to work in places he couldn't go before to support his family. No. Not impossible. When Nan Xiang looked at the afternoon classes that were about to end, he felt confident. Ah, sneeze. Sneezed hard. Goto, who made such a loud noise, quickly covered his mouth and nose. At the same time, his eyes hidden under his bangs looked around anxiously, fearing that his too bold sneeze would affect the surrounding classmates. Fortunately, the air was quiet for a moment, and the students just paused, glanced at her, and then started talking and laughing. The timid eyes hidden under the girl's bangs relaxed, but soon there was a sense of loss in her heart. It's best if it doesn't affect others. But isn't it a tragedy to be like this on the fringes of your own class? Carrying his guitar, he gingerly stood up from his seat and pretended to flip through a popular rock band magazine. After confirming that no one wanted to talk to him, Goto walked out of the classroom. Then, the steps stopped. Pulling the door frame with her fair hands, she timidly poked half of her face into the classroom again, after once again confirming that no one wanted to talk to her about music. After a hard day at school, the devastated Goto secretly retracted his head. Of course I know. The pink-haired girl walking alone in the courtyard of the campus clenched her small hands and said seriously to the empty air next to her, just waiting for others to take the initiative to talk to you is not enough, you have to take the initiative, but, I am today you've worked hard enough. You've worked so hard today, so it's normal to go home and rest as soon as possible, right? Goto Ichiri felt his butt was a little itchy, and after scratching it with his hands like a lady without caring about it, he continued to explain to the air seriously. Soon, the empty air responded to her. She nodded her head vigorously and continued talking to herself. Well, thank you for your recognition, Kitai. I know, you are indeed my best friend. Hee, no matter what human national treasures are, they are not worthy of being my friends, although they are indeed so outstanding. Yoshida shouldn't put it so bluntly, oh, don't pounce on me. She leaned forward as if she had been hit by something, and the pink-haired girl fell to the ground with a thud. At the same time, there was her angry and funny voice towards the air friend. Really, Kita, you Goto Izato, who was chatting and communicating smoothly with his delusional air friend, paused. She kicked off one of her student leather shoes, and her unattractive black socks were exposed, but she couldn't care less about it. Ask her what she fears most in the world. There is no doubt that she was seen by others while communicating with the delusional air friend in her head. What's even more horrifying is that all of his dark history was recorded by the person in front of him with his mobile phone. The most terrifying thing is that the man in front of him is still known as the man at the top of Oka High School's food chain, Nangxiang Toki. Turning on the video recording function on his mobile phone, Nangxiang, who had recorded to the last second, ended the recording with satisfaction and stood up with a smile. Let's talk, Goto-san. Ah, I want to go back. Goto Ichiri wanted to retreat with a scared look on his face. I hope Goto-san can reconsider. Nangxiang Shi showed a hearty smile and opened the video content on his phone. Inside, someone's proud smirk came from just now. Hey, human being's national treasure. After the video was halfway through, he pointed to the bench and said, now we can sit down and talk. Mr. Goto. Woof. What are you doing? Looking at Goto Kazuri sitting on the campus bench like a puppy, Nango couldn't help but ask when the words came to his lips. I will try my best to express my obedience to you. Only video, please show me your noble hand. Nangxiang fell into a long silence. Did you really die for this idiot in the simulation? With this thought, he silently turned on the video recording button on his mobile phone towards Goto Kazuri again. Anyway, it's really interesting, so let's record it first. Chapter 12. Ms. Goto's mental state is worrying. Goto Kazuri had heard many rumors about Nangxiang. Born in the countryside, he went from a little-known rural junior high school in Akita County, a remote area with poor educational resources, to his current position at Oka High School in Bunkyo District. Then, within just 1 year of his freshman year in high school, he knocked out his predecessor who was number 1 in the grade with an absolute margin that no one could shake, and he firmly took the throne of number 1 in the grade. Even now no one can touch his toes. There is a saying circulating in the school. When Nangxiang took the test, it was not that he could only get 100 points, but that the test paper score was only 100 points. If he only had good academic performance, it would be okay. The key is that Nangxiang's appearance was particularly good looking. The combination of various factors creates a true central figure on campus. And this is the state that Goto Ichiri has always dreamed of. Even if you sit there and remain silent, there is a sense of mystery in the eyes of others. Just stand up and want to go to the toilet, and there are people willing to come up and talk to you. How great would it be if I could be so popular one day? More than once, Goto Kazuri imagined himself in Nangxiang at night. Oh, do you really want to be friends with me? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 9. Since you are all kneeling down to beg me, there is nothing wrong with you. He, I am Ichiri Goto, I am the number 1 in my grade, the most beautiful woman, I am the guitar hero, everyone's darling. Goto Ichisato made a silly sound of ho 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 from his throat. Nangxiang, who was sitting next to her, had been staring at her for a long time, but couldn't help but pat her face. Hey, MS Guitar Hero, you've come to your senses. Hey, suck it, Nangxiang Sr. Goto Ichiri wiped his saliva with the cuffs of his sweatshirt, raised his face whose eyes were covered by bangs, and looked at Nangxiang in front of him blankly. Aren't you already kneeling in front of me and begging me to do it with you? Are you friends? Nangxiang didn't say anything, he just smiled at her, and the picture recorded on his cell phone reflected a malicious light. She shivered involuntarily and timidly retracted her head into the stand-up collar of her pink sportswear, completely breaking away from the delusion of human national treasure Goto Ichiri just now. Can we have a nice talk now? Please don't worry. Goto Ichiri's stammering voice came over. I understand. Oh. Nangxiang was a little surprised. This was the first time he had seen Goto Ichiri understand what he meant so quickly. Then, Goto's 2 white hands suddenly held the wallet and handed it to Nangxiang's face, and then came her voice, which was a bit trembling and crying. I will give you money every day. Please show your respect for the recording and video recording. Well. Nangxiang looked at the wallet handed over in front of him. Did you misunderstand something? He loves money, and he studies hard in order to make a lot of money in the future, but extorting money from girls in society will only make him feel uneasy about his conscience. This time he contacted the other party only because a new prompt given by the love simulator made him want to contact the other party. He has no intention of bullying the other party at all. Misunderstanding. Goto, who looked timidly under his bangs, raised his head and looked at Nango in fear. She quickly understood the meaning of Nangxiang's words, and said in a voice that was about to cry, Yes, I'm sorry, Senior Nangxiang, I only brought this much today. Also, please accept this. She also took off the guitar from behind. Do you really not listen to what others say? Goto Kazuri's act of inferiority and self-flagellation brought back bad memories from Nangxiang's 2-week simulation. Not only does this woman have such low self-esteem in the simulation that it makes people upset, she actually does the same in real life. I hide my emotions because I am afraid of crowds. Because of my low self-esteem, I continue to abuse myself. If you blindly accommodate others, you will only hurt yourself in the end. What a troubled woman through and through. Nang Xiangshi's face was full of disgust. But after all, I still had the simulated experience of Er's Humu's wife, and finally sighed, still not at ease with her living situation. It seems that her fear of others needs to be corrected from her personality. This will probably be a long process. I guess it won't work today. So Nang Xiang simply took over Goto Ichiri's guitar, then raised a finger and said, "Tomorrow, at this time, if you want to get your guitar back, come here." The guitar is equivalent to a hostage that allows Goto Kazuri to communicate with himself. Ah, good. Goto Ichiri nodded his head vigorously, already thinking that even if he couldn't get his guitar back, he wouldn't come tomorrow. Don't think that you won't come tomorrow if you can't pick up the guitar. Nang Xiangshi couldn't help but speak. How do you know what I'm thinking? Mind reading? Goto Ichiri's expression became even more panicked. Of course she didn't know that the version of herself in the simulation was already married to Nango Toki. Nango Toki knew her very well and knew exactly where she felt most comfortable, of course. Is the Nang Xiang time in the simulation? I know. A scream was squeezed out of his throat, and Goto Ichiri wanted to refuse, but in the end he was defeated by the cowardice in his heart. Nang Xiang was worried that a layman like himself would damage Goto Isato's guitar, so he kept holding it with both hands until he watched the lost pink-haired girl disappear completely in the atrium, then he shook his head helplessly. Originally, I just wanted to have a good communication, so I deleted the black history of her video in front of her, and further deepened my relationship with her. As a result, I didn't expect Ichiri Goto to be so afraid of being in contact with others. It will probably be a long battle to correct her character and attitude. Thinking this, he turned to look at the system panel suspended in the air. Current number of simulations, 2. The number of simulations is restored over time, and can also be restored by obtaining the heartbeat value of the simulation object. The number of simulations is restored every 300 heartbeats. He still has 2 simulation times, and if he wants to restore the number of simulations, in addition to time recovery, there is another way, which is to obtain the heartbeat value of the simulation object and recover. Originally, they met by chance in the atrium, and no one else saw her. He thought he could have a few words with Goto Ichiri, harvest her heart rate, and at the same time reform her awkward personality. However, the other party's overly defensive symptoms of social fear forced Nang Xiangshi to switch to another route. But judging from the exchange just now, not to mention harvesting a wave of heartbeat points from Goto Ichiri, I am afraid that the already weak favorability has also dropped a lot, right? With this thought in mind, I carried Goto Ichiri's guitar on my back and planned to return it to her Nang Xiang tomorrow and clicked on the heart rate page. Ding, you got a heartbeat value of 20 from Goto Ichiri. Ding, you got a heartbeat value of 20 from Goto Ichiri. Ding, you are from Goto. Nang Xiang was silent, his fingers stopped in mid-air. Miss Ichiri Goto's mental state is really worrying. Chapter 13. This is being bullied. Huh, little loneliness. He raised his head in astonishment and sat next to the drum set, holding the drumsticks with both hands. After hearing the dejected words of Goto Kazuri, the girl with blonde side ponytail was a little unbelievable. Isn't this bullying? Her name is Ijishi Hongxia. He appeared on Ichisato Goto when he was in Nango, and he was the drummer of the band The End. The drummer is the heart of a rock band. Unlike Ichiri Goto, who has low self-esteem and is gloomy, Ijichi Honka is enthusiastic and generous. Perhaps it was precisely because of this that during the simulation, she was able to enter into Ichiri Goto's heart and become friends with her. Therefore, After hearing that Goto Ichiri's guitar was taken away by someone from the same school, she immediately stood up, raised her white palms, and called her bandmates to come over to discuss countermeasures. The guitar was snatched away by a boy from the same school. Next to her, the short-haired girl who was tightening her bass strings raised her head, and her neutral and delicate face was revealed. She first glanced at her bandmate Goto Kazuri, who she nominally shared the joys and sorrows with, without any emotion at all. Then she covered her mouth and made a sound of gloating. He was obviously a teammate, but this woman came to laugh at him immediately. As expected, she is a woman named Yamada Ryo, the cool talker. Liang, don't stand by and say sarcastic remarks that have nothing to do with you. If we can't get Little Lonely's guitar back, we won't be able to practice new songs. Itaki Hungzia hit Yamada Ryo on the head with a knife. Wouldn't it be nice to buy a new guitar when I'm lonely? Yamada Ryo tilted his head, as if he was wondering why Ichiki Hunka had such a big reaction. Her family is able to run a hospital in the country of Japan, which also shows her identity as a hidden eldest lady. The dozens of basses of different models kept at home can also show that her family is well off. But no, Ichiki Hungzia waved her hand, Little Lonely doesn't have that much money at all. If this continues, I really won't be able to practice new songs. Not everyone is like you, Ryo. What? That's really a big problem. After hearing this sentence, Yamada Ryo's originally expressionless face became more complicated. Rehearsing new songs and then performing on stage are the most basic and important activities of every rock band. If Ichiri Goto's guitar never gets back, let alone perform on stage, I probably won't even be able to rehearse new songs. Yamada Ryo looked at Goto Ichisato with a serious look on his face, and asked in a hurried and confident tone, Lonely, why didn't you tell me earlier that you don't even have this little money? If a teammate has a problem, go to her teammate. Anyway, she is perfect and will never have a problem. Goto didn't say anything for a while, and her eyes were completely dead. She suddenly felt that this was good for her. At least I can find my proper destination in this little trash can. So good. It feels good to be buried like this. Isn't Oka High School famous for its rigorous school spirit? Doesn't school bullying happen there? Isn't Kita-chan in the same school as Little Lonely? Is this phenomenon very frequent? Ichiki Hunka took Goto Ichiri out of the trash can, who wanted to escape reality, and at the same time ignored Yamada Ryo who was muttering, otherwise, I'll lend my extra bass to practice alone. Then, he took out his mobile phone from his pocket. Speaking of which, Kita-chan seems to be in the same school as Little Lonely, right? Let me make a call and ask about the situation. Yamada Ryumai, Ichiki Hikaru looked like they were not going to adopt their own strategy, so they could only give up on the topic of I just found a suspicious human kidney trading website on the internet that was halfway mentioned. Here we have to mention the composition of the end band. The end band is a standard traditional band in rock. Its personnel composition is very simple, that is, the lead guitarist, Goto Kazuri, bassist, Yamada Ryo, drummer, Ichichi Honka, and accompaniment guitar and vocalist, Kita Ikuyo. And the Kita-chan they were talking about was the accompanist Ikuyo Kita, who had an appointment with a friend today and happened to be absent from the event. After the call was made, Ichiki Hikaru spent a few minutes explaining the situation to Kita Ikuyo, who was on the phone. What? Goto-san was bullied. Kita Ikuyo on the other end of the phone made a surprised sound. Yes. Even the guitar was taken away, so I wanted to ask Kita-chan if there was anything I could do. There should be no problem with this. I also have many friends in Oka High School. Let the bullies see our momentum. I guess they won't bother Goto-san, right? Over there, Kita Ikuyo continued to ask thoughtfully, so who is the person who bullied Goto-san? Who is it? Ichiki Hunka recalled the name that Goto Kazuri mentioned just now, and said uncertainly, It's called Nango Toki, Oka High School Sophomore Class 1. Cough 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 cough. There was a rapid coughing sound on the other side of the phone. Kita-chan? Are you okay? Yi Dizzy Hungzia was a little surprised. Don't care. Ichiki senpai, who were you talking about just now? My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 10. When I was in Nangxiang, the first class of the second year of Oka High School. There was no sound from the other end of the phone for a long time. After quite a while, a sound sounded like Ikuyo Kita taking a gulp of water to suppress his shock. Senior Nangxiang. What's wrong? Kita-chan. Itaki Hungzia's pale yellow side ponytail trembled. This was the first time she saw the sunny and cheerful Kita Ikuyo like this. She couldn't help but ask, is Nangxiang very famous in your school? He is not a famous person, Ichi-senpai, you should ask me who in our school doesn't know him. Compared to Godu Kazuri, who always huddles in a corner, Kita Ikuyo, who has many friends, obviously knows Nangxiang better. She clasped her fingers and started listing them one by one. He has ranked first in grade for 2 consecutive years. There are rumors that he can easily get full marks in the class even if he doesn't listen to the class. Even if he takes a nap during class, he is recognized by the teacher. You know he ranked number 1 in the last national deviation value test. How many? First. Ask questions and then answer them. That kind of person is a real genius. I overheard it once when I was delivering materials to a teacher. Senior Nangxiang, a second-year student, was admitted to Tokyo University even with his eyes closed. Oh, so awesome. Even Yamada Ryo, who always had an expressionless face and seldom praised others easily, couldn't help but blink his big beautiful eyes after hearing these words and started to praise. After all, she has always regarded Dongda as her goal. If Godu-san is really bullied by him, even if we tell the teacher and discuss it with him, the teacher will probably only believe him and not us. Kita Ikuyo sounded worried, losing the confidence he had just now. But. Ujizi Hungzia was completely confused. She murmured to herself in confusion, but such a powerful person, why would he bully Xiao Lonely? Shouldn't these two people be parallel lines? At this moment, everyone turned their attention to Godu Kazuri, who was about to get back into the trash can, looking lonely and pitiful. Chapter 14. 3I Simulation, Start. The discussions behind the band's end were actually not clear when they returned to Nangxiang in their rental house. After all, from the beginning, he just wanted to have a good communication with Godu Ichiri. In order to prevent her from escaping, he pretended to record the video. He originally planned to delete it directly in front of her. As for the subsequent development of the bullying route, he was unexpected. The main reason is that people like Kazuri Godu, who have long-term social fears and low self-esteem, will always subconsciously lead the conversation with him in the direction of bullying. Things like handing over your wallet, handing in your guitar, basically all of them were delusions of persecution dreamed up by Godu Kazuri, a sociophobe who felt pressured by simple interactions with others. Seeing that he still couldn't communicate with Godu Ichiri, who was so nervous that he didn't even dare to raise his head, Nangxiang Shi accepted the other person's guitar and planned to let her calm down and talk tomorrow. The only thing to be thankful for is, different from the simulation plot, Nangxiang Shi took the initiative to contact Godu Kazuri this time and deliberately chose the atrium after school, and no one else noticed. Therefore, school gossip like in the simulation should not appear. Although the contact process was not as smooth as he imagined, he still got what he needed. It doesn't refer to the guitar, but to Kazuri Godu's line account. Godu Kazuri simply couldn't refuse and added his account. Thinking of this, Nangxiang shook his head, thinking that it would be better to explain a few words so as not to make Godu Ichiri feel uneasy. He opened Line and selected Ichiri Godu's avatar. The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, don't worry, the guitar is only temporarily borrowed and will be returned to you tomorrow. I didn't keep any of your dark history videos, they have been deleted. Put down the phone. Almost 2 minutes passed. You get 20 heartbeat points from Ichiri Goto. At the same time, it was Goto Kazuri's words. Probably dead, yes, sorry. I am sincerely afraid that I will make you feel unhappy this time. I will bring my wedding expenses with you tomorrow. Please accept it. Nangxiang time. He could only explain again. Tokyo's most beautiful boy, that's not what I meant. Probably dead, just, my lifelong wedding expenses are not enough? The most beautiful boy in Tokyo, I mean, you don't have to be under so much psychological pressure. Can't Goto-san play the guitar? I'm also very interested. Can I ask you for advice then? Probably dead, that means not only money, but also my time will be. Fine. Let it be what it is. When I realized that I seemed to be describing the darker and darker Nangxiang, I decisively interrupted the online conversation. He probably understood that for people like Goto Kazuri who dare not talk to others and have low self-esteem and self-abuse, they always seem to think about things in the worst direction. There are many beautiful things under the sun, but she always casts her eyes on the shadows unconsciously. This has been her living condition for a long time, having been alone since she was a child. It is unrealistic to expect her to change in a short while. For a person who is used to huddled in shadow corners, if you suddenly pull her into the sunlight, it will only cause her pain. It seems that we can only do it step by step. Hey, women are just troublesome creatures. Put down the phone. Nanxiangshi re-examined the so-called heartbeat value setting of the system. The heartbeat value here probably does not only refer to the heartbeat in the sense of goodwill. Even if the simulated subject is a little worried and afraid like Nangxiangshi did before, the heartbeat value can be considered a heartbeat. Nangxiangshi shook his head and opened Goto Kazuri's guitar bag. Inside, is the electric guitar that Ichiri Goto often uses. Without pickups and effects, I couldn't practice any music for the time being. I could only borrow Goto Kazuri's guitar to practice fingering and hand patterns. According to the knowledge about guitar in the music LV1 provided by the system, Nangxiangshi lowered his head and practiced for almost an hour and a half. It was not until his fingertips started to tingle when pressing the strings and his wrists became sore that he gave up practicing. For an hour and a half, I just barely got started with fingering. Nangxiangshi was actually not too satisfied with this speed. Although he did not use the Rock Queen study card, he himself was assisted by the special skill of music LV1. And it wasn't until this moment that he understood what kind of efforts she had put in after he left Goto Ichiri in the simulation. There is no doubt that Guitar Hero, who has 30,000 subscribers, has superb guitar skills. But if I want to go one step further from Guitar Hero and reach the pinnacle of National Rock Queen in a short period of time, it's no wonder that Goto Ichiri in the simulation suffered from all kinds of mental stress, and at one point needed to take psychostimulant drugs to survive. In the end, he died of illness. This woman, in a sense, is indeed so stupid that it makes people feel bad. Nangxiangshi turned to look at the love simulator and fell into thinking. Although he and Goto Kazuri became lovers in the second week, and indeed entered into marriage, the process was not smooth. Goto Kazuri practiced guitar without sleep and food, and his body collapsed at an early age, and he also chose going to an ordinary university and working in an ordinary company after graduation. This is not a good result for both of them. In addition, Goto Ichiri's social phobia symptoms have not alleviated even into adulthood. The only way she could deal with people normally was to end her band and her family. Even when she faced the media, it was only Hikaru Itaki and Ikuyo Kita who came up for interviews. Occasionally, there were interviews that required her to appear, and she would only use her superb guitar. Solo cleverly disguises himself and rarely speaks directly in interviews. In the end, Goto Kazuri died of regret due to physical burden, and he tragically committed suicide by throwing himself into a lake because he could not accept the reality of his wife's death. In the end, nothing was resolved. If it were to end with some word games, it would definitely be a bad end. No wonder it only received a low passing score of 67 points. Nang Xiangxi was thinking, his fingers sliding through several options. In the second week, it was because he paid too much attention to Goto Kazuri and ignored the gossip in the school, which led to the subsequent tragedy. So change the strategy this time. So what if we temporarily look away from Goto Izato, change our thinking, and extinguish the source of the rumors? Do you want to start the last simulation process? Yes. Number of remaining simulations, 1. Memories from the simulation began to flash back in my mind. After traveling through a year, you came into contact with Ichiri Goto from class 2 of the first year. You shamelessly got in touch with her under the pretext of learning guitar and became friends with her day after day. She was infected by your humorous words and cheerful attitude towards life. The original gloomy expression became less and less, and the smiles on her face became more and more with your encouragement. She concentrated on guitar activities outside school, but with you she has never forgotten the agreement. Everything seems to be developing in a good direction. You decide. 1. Ichiri Goto's situation still makes you uneasy. Please continue to pay attention to Ichiri Goto's situation. 2. Occasionally, you should also focus on other things, and temporarily take your eyes away from Goto Ichiri. 3. It's too boring to fall in love all the time, let's study instead. 4. Personal simulation. The system page is different this time. The first option dims, which means that this simulated route has been traveled and cannot be selected again. But Nang Xiang didn't care either. His finger slid toward the second option, waiting for the simulation to change this time. You think Goto Ichiri's situation has stabilized, although she still needs you to worry about. If you interfere blindly, it will only deepen her dependence on you. You will move your eyes away from Goto Ichiri and focus on other things. With keen observation, you discovered that during this period, because you spent a long time in school talking and laughing with Goto Kazuri in the music room, the seeds of rumors between you and her had vaguely appeared on campus. Faced with the seeds of rumors sprouting in the school, you decide. 1. Great. There are already rumors circulating outside that I am dating Ely. This is the time to fan the flames, drum up rumors, and wait for an opportunity to express your feelings. 2. They are just some school rumors. Every school will have them. If you leave them alone, you should be able to calm them down. 3. Prevent rumors from spreading. 4. Personal simulation. Brand new options popped up, making Nang Xiangxi's eyes light up. Sure enough, after choosing this route, new options appeared that were not available in the second week. Chapter 15. Loneliness is actually a very romantic word. For Nang Xiangxi, these options are actually not difficult to choose. The first option is simply to avoid chaos in the world, and actually want him, the person involved, to fan the flames. It is simply because he is afraid that Goto will not be autistic. The second option is actually to simply let it go. If you choose this option, there is a high probability that you will follow the tragic path of the second week. Considering this, Nang Xiangxi decisively chose 3. In the face of rumors, you who have always been at the center of rumors actually don't care, but you are worried about the impact this matter will have on Goto Kazuri. So you found the source of the rumor.